Hey there, in this training we're going to go over how you can transfer inventory. So here we are in Beacon. We're going to head over to the movements section and then click on transfers. You can also initiate a transfer at the bottom of any container or device's detail screen. But creating a transfer here allows you to access. But here in the transfer screen, you can do a number of other things. So here we're looking at a list of all of our previous transfers, whether they are accepted or declined or pending. You can see their various statuses here. How a transfer works is it transfers inventory from one user's custody to another, or from the organization's custody to another user's custody. So it's all about transferring inventory custody. After a transfer is created, it sits in the pending status until it's accepted or declined. So this is meant to mimic shipping in real life. So ideally, the transfer is created when the shipment goes out, and then when it's actually received, the receiving user marks it as accepted. And reasons you would decline a transfer might be, the box doesn't contain what it says it does, or you don't need it, or, the wrong items were sent by mistake. These are all reasons you might decline a transfer. And if a transfer gets declined, it'll kick it back to the sender to review before that inventory is then just returned to their pool of inventory in their custody. But the first thing let's touch on is how to accept your transfers, because in order to use inventory in a case, it needs to be accepted into your custody. Otherwise, that inventory is just sitting there in limbo. So you can, first of all, on your dashboard, go to the inventory tab and see transfers right there front and center, and then you can jump to the transfers page using this link here. So the dashboard is a great way to navigate, but you can also just, as we did earlier, access the transfers page here. And then once you're here, you can see all of your pending transfers if you used the link on the dashboard to get here. And you can accept or decline a transfer by clicking these buttons right here. So if I click the green checkbox, it'll accept that inventory into my custody. And so there are different operational processes, for managing transfers. Some manufacturers want everything to be accepted, so you might just run down the line and accept all of these. Some manufacturers want you to pay closer attention to what's in the box, and so you might actually click on the transfer, review its information and what devices are included, compare the pick list to what's actually in the box. You could even take images and upload them to the transfer page in the attachment section or the images section so that you can show what actually arrived. It all depends on what your process should be. So you can also accept or decline these transfers here on the detail screen. So back on the transfers page, let's create a new transfer by clicking the new transfer button in the upper right. First, you'll select who you're transferring from. And so most often, if you're a sales user, this will just be you. You actually won't. So if you're a sales user, this will automatically be you. If you are a distributor, you'd be able to select from yourself or the sales users who are connected to you. And then as an admin, you're able to select any user, including the organization. And that's probably the most common type of transfer you're going to do, is transferring from the organization's custody to one of your field users. So I'll transfer to a distributor, and then we'll select the actual recipient. Click next. And then this will look familiar to you probably. It looks like the select inventory screen when you are recording your sales. So all you have to do is use the filters on the left-hand side to search your inventory, and then select the products that you need, which show up here on the selected tab. And in the selected tab, you can modify quantities. You can assign groups of devices to a particular container. Just be aware that the entire quantity you're transferring will be assigned to whatever container you choose. So, useful feature, but be aware of how it works. And then if you need to search for more inventory or different inventory, you can come back to the search tab and run another search to find the inventory you're looking for. As we have shown you in previous videos, the scan barcode options are available here as well. it's really easy to just scan the product you're holding and then use that to search. So in this instance, I'll actually search for the barcode. In some of our other video trainings, we've done the scan to add feature, which will actually add the item to your selection. Here, I'm just going to search. So I'll click on the scan button. It'll use the camera on my computer. I'll scan that barcode, and as you can see, it populated the UDI right there in the search field and already searched my inventory for me. So I can just select that inventory now, and I am good to go. So scanning barcodes is a sweet way to basically move through the whole system. So scanning barcodes is a sweet way to select your inventory as long as you have that data populated and you have labels you can scan. Then click Next. On this screen, you can review the devices that you just selected and make any adjustments that we were just making. And then on the right-hand side, you can make a lot of logistical adjustments. So one thing to talk about is the location. So in another video, we're going to talk deeper about custom locations. They allow you to manage the geographic location of your inventory, not just its custody. However, location needs to be updated on a device-by-device level. So you would need to go into inventory detail screens to change locations. You can set the location for a container, which would also change the location of the devices contained within it. However, there's no real great bulk update option. So when you're transferring inventory is one situation where you can update the location for a number of items at once. So if we set a new location here, it'll be applied to all of the inventory on this transfer. So, again, it's a really powerful feature. You can modify the location for a lot of inventory at once. Just be aware of how it works. This will be applied to all of the inventory. But, if you need to apply locations to a ton of inventory, and it's going to take you, hours to do so, maybe doing a transfer of that inventory just to update the location and then transfer it back, maybe that makes sense. So you can use these things how you need to. Feel free to use the description or transfer notes to add additional context to the transfer. You can also associate it with an existing event. This would already be here if this transfer was resulting from a request, but if this transfer is specifically tied to an upcoming case or a previous case and it's already been scheduled, you can select it here. Then select the ship to address. Where should this go? Select the consignment status if you want. If this inventory is going out to the field, then selecting loan might be a really good option. This helps you enable the due backdate feature and the extension requests feature, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But you can set that consignment status here. It'll get applied to all the inventory. So you can set a due backdate. When do you want this inventory to be returned? If you do add an event, then you can automatically set the due backdate, which will automatically set to be 1 week after the event date. But as you can see, this event is far in the past, so I'm going to remove it. We'll keep the due backdate on there, though, of later this week. And then if you want, you can also apply a hold status. Just again, bear in mind that the hold status would need to be updated on a device-by-device basis. So it may take some time if you need to make this stuff sellable and it's all in the non-conforming status, for instance. So, ready for sale is most common. And then you can add inventory tags. This is another opportunity similar to locations where you can update the tags for a lot of inventory at once. Typically, tags need to be added individually or at the container level, but adding them here will ensure that the tags get added to every device on the transfer. Then click Create. The transfer will be created in a pending status. The recipient will be notified, and it'll be theirs to accept or decline. If you are an admin, and we kind of discussed this earlier, if your company wants to make sure that the inventory is getting accepted and it's available to be used in a case, and that there's no risk of it sitting in a pending status and just hanging out there, then you might want to just accept the transfer right now. That way it's immediately available to the user to use, but that would be up to your operational process. So please tune into our next training video to learn more.